Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an Object Show fan who's on a journey to find out everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome to Object Catchup, the series where we discuss Object Show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, that intro that you just saw, not this sentence, the previous one, was new because yes, I have officially decided that after 100 episodes, having watched a majority of the biggest shows that there are, not all of them of course, but so many, that saying that I've barely watched any object shows, I think it just classifies as wrong. So, I have decided to change it to, hey, I'm trying to find out all of the objects. I'm trying to find out everything about object shows, to, watch them all, do them all, and I think that's a solid tagline for now, but I don't know, I'll take suggestions, man, but it's like, because I will admit, barely watch any object shows did have some aura to it, and it's a little bit difficult to rekindle that, but, yeah, episode 101, the start of the second 100 of episodes. We're still gonna be very slow in this early March period. However, in this episode, which hopefully, if all goes well, I've managed to get out on this day, but it'll be difficult, is all about one series with 3 episodes, one very big series with 3 episodes, Orbit. Yes, Orbit, the show created by mationsBOMB, which is a creator with 259,000 subscribers. This is, as far as modern shows go, definitely one of the biggest to have, dropped in the past year, and a couple at this point, like a bit over a week ago, it dropped episode 3. So we gotta, get to it. I actually know basically nothing about it. I don't know that it exists. It's got like a house as a host, and some other things. But in general, I don't know what to really expect other than it's a show that has these episodes that are about 20 to 25 minutes, and it seems to be good because people like it, right? So I don't know, we're gonna just need to watch it, we're gonna need to see, alright, and we're gonna start off here with Orbit 1, which is titled Open Your Eyes. It released 11 months ago. Okay, here we go. Good luck. Orbit number 1, let's do it. Okay, so that is episode 1 of Orbit. Now, one of the things I was definitely wondering is like, okay, how have I heard so little about this? Like, I've seen the characters, but in general, for being one of, the big 2025 shows, I had heard very little about it throughout, those later months of 2025, but I was thinking about it, and I think, it's just because if you look at it, it's sort of a different crew. Of course, every show has a different crew. However, if you look at this crew, right, I feel like I recognize very few of the names. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm sure they've appeared in a show or another. However, I recognize few of the names, which makes it sort of a kind of a distinctive crew, that's sort of separated from, a lot of other shows that we have watched. But, yeah, we have ourselves an interesting show. So it begins here with the cold open, that's for this book. Okay, so this book tells us the story of the orbs, what we need to know, the exposition, okay, as it's called. So we end up discovering that the solar system was held together by 10 glowing orbs. However, apparently a being of power stole those orbs, and to stop the orb scattered around the solar system and became a planet that is protected by the orb. Various planets started to disappear because they got stolen, it seems, and then it was time for Earth. That's how the story seems to go. As you can tell from the left page, there's a bunch of houses. Beware. So it seems like our host, which turns out to be a house, is this. It's an intriguing little novel because it's seeming to be talking in a past tense perspective about what we're seeing right now. It seems like Earth does seem like it's one of those sort of bad ending, how did we get there? Where it's like, it seems like the orb will get taken and Earth will get destroyed. However, we need to, I guess, watch the show to see the progression of how we even get there. But yeah, it's a very, 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 very high level animation for this book. Like, by a country mile, like, super, like, photorealistic even. It's straight out of friggin' Little Big Planet. It's straight out of the Shrek opening. Like, it's something. It's something, alright? I will say personally, it could just be me kind of overthinking things for sure. However, I would say that I maybe wouldn't recommend the show to do this. Because like the cold open is the first thing you see and it's your absolute first impression. So I don't think that the first scene in your show should be a significant higher quality than your average scene, because if your first scene is way better, then you come in with that first expectation, and then you I guess get disappointed, quote unquote, when it doesn't look that good, right? It's sort of the way that I would describe it, right? The same way that I remember that new animated battle episode, maybe, it looks crazy because there's a super well lit shot at the start, and then it turns back to being perfectly normal, right? But like, yeah. In general, however, this is a nitpick because the show looks very, very good. Actually, I must admit, it's a well animated show. It's difficult to exactly tell you like what is solid about this animation. It's just extremely free, basically. I think it's the best way that I can really describe it. It's extremely free. It feels like each character can do every single possible expression. It feels like every single possible camera angle is an option, right? It just feels like the way the quality is there to where anything that has to be made can be made, basically, right? There's not a limitation. Every angle works, every face expression works. If we need somebody to look sort of awkward, if we need falls, if we need a character to lean forward, to lean backwards, to walk to the side, to walk back, to walk to front, right? To go up in the bat, and not like all of this stuff. It's all directly did that, to have eyes be this way or that way, or have a throw, have a slow-mo, or have any of that stuff, right? That's all very much so, like, it can do everything, and that's when it does it. And like, if it wants to look bad on purpose, it can. If it wants to look good on purpose, it can, right? It can. I don't know how it would look good not on purpose, but like, like all of this stuff. It's just it can do every type of animation, and therefore you can really feel it. Because it allows itself everything. So that's that. In terms of VAs, yet again, not heard of any of them. I mean, I might have heard them in another show, but I'm not too familiar with them. But they do a good job. They do actually quite a solid work with it. I liked House, of course. I liked the notes, and the Definitely Toasty, because in general, they're VAs that need to put a lot of emotion into the voice, and they managed to get it done. So, we have ourselves the story. So, what is currently going on? It seems as if by the boss, quote unquote, whoever the boss is, I don't know who the boss is, but according to the boss, these people are off here in the grasslands, as every show does, to take shifts at protecting the orb, okay? Because the orb is right there, and you gotta protect it in case anything evil comes by. In case any whoop-de-doop-de-doo, I'm gonna steal it. So, we proceed to they take shifts doing that. So it was Broccoli's turn, turning into Notes' turn. So they proceed to go over. Notes end up going over with Broccoli, then the yapping, and like basically, yeah. So how they take shifts doing that, and while we're on Broccoli and Notes shift, we end up having House appear. So House, how do we chat about House, gamers? Okay, so House definitely falls under the umbrella of BFB-esque host, but definitely there is no other way to describe House. However, it does one thing very, very well. despite the fact that it has a BFB core host, right? It has a host that directly takes tips from 4, directly takes tips from animatic. It is neither of the two, right? Which is the very strong thing. House fits a mildly different niche than animatic. The way animatic plays out is different. The way 4 plays out is different. It's a bit more like, it's sometimes difficult to really say, but like it's kind of the vibe. I would say that the house is pretty close to animatic in a sense, because like they're both sort of they're both sort of these characters that have a lot of variance, that sort of have this happy persona that sort of gets masked around, and then in actuality they're a little bit more off. However, the thing about it is that animatic has that mask slip way easier. House, for the most part, does currently give off vibe of, I mean, of course not really, because they're about to steal the orb and destroy Earth. However, like, if we're just on how they've been acting to the characters, does seem to have a more directly like, hey, I'm like nice in a way, right? Rather than animatic, which is like, okay, they're nice, however, they do super mean things, while saying it as if it's a nice thing, while House will just not do a super mean thing. So out of these sort of BFBS crazy hosts, I would definitely say that House currently gives me the nicest one that I've seen. Doesn't mean that House, hasn't, even in this episode, House is already kind of trolling. However, like, definitely the most, the nicer one that I've seen in terms of these, but more episodes are going to be incoming. But yeah, that's what's kind of going on with House. So as House tries to go over and take the orb, they proceed to go hello, and then we end up having the question if they can try to get the orb. However, there's a spell on the orb. Apparently, the orb for Earth specifically says that it has a spell on it, which means that no being outside of Earth can actually touch it. There's a spell to get rid of it that Notes makes Broccoli not say, and then they decide, oh, come on. So as they proceed to do that, everybody else appears because they end up sort of chasing after Tosi gets by because they're bored, and everybody else goes by because of the loudness. And then House goes like, okay, how about this? Deal. I give you a wish for anything you want. You give me orb. That is the idea. I will say I did watch one in episode 100. This is the same price as one, but like anyways, we end up having sorry. We end up having everybody mostly agree except for Nose, where he goes like, hold on, we can't give up this orb, bro. Like, we're trying to protect him, my guy. And everybody else goes like, no, but they're gonna keep it in a safe place. We're gonna send it to a protection unit. We'll be guarded by powerful beings. Yeah, because that's what you would do, of course, obviously, right? Yeah, I mean, the obvious flaw with this plan is that, I mean, like, I don't trust this guy because it's like, hold on, you want this orb so that you can protect it more. No, you don't. You would just, like, you could just protect it there then. This is the gamer's lie ever. Like, there's no point to that. Like, what? Like, that's not true. That's not what you would do. But okay, yeah. So House is definitely playing it. Lying for the sake of getting the orb. I mean, maybe they do actually grant a wish, but like in general, they seem to mostly be lying about, oh, I'm gonna keep the orb safe, I'm not gonna destroy Earth. When like they totally will. But yeah, that's unfortunate. But they're dealing with a very dumb cast of characters. Speaking of which, let's actually chat about this dumb cast of characters. So let me try to see. If there's a full cast image that I can find. Is there a full cast image here? Okay, I guess there's the intro. The intro. So the intro to Orbit, very, very, very simple intro. Like a very simple intro for these for these bigger shows. We nowadays have a bit more of a complex intro, but overall, I mean, it's a very clean little intro. So yeah, with the music being very simplistic, just sort of everything. It was simplistic. So yeah, we don't mind it. So we have ourselves Toasty. Toasty is the goofball character, just absolute goofy guy, goofy. You know, that's the best way to describe it. Is there any character comparison I can do it to? I mean, there's definitely a character that probably fits Toasty description, like a B at the eye. It's like, what is it? I'm trying to figure out. It's like, what's the character that's like all fun and games and sort of disregards logic so they can kind of play around, you know, acts like they're about 9 years old. It's not Grassy. It's somebody else, but yeah, they're definitely the goofiest character, and in a way, they're somehow crazier than the host. So that's really interesting when we have this type of sort of competition environment where the contestants are nearly just as deranged as the host, and I think this competition counts as that, or like generally the amount of logical contestants are actually outnumbered by illogical contestants. I accidentally stopped the recording. But yeah, they're right there by logical contestants. There's Croissant, which is the sort of baby little guy, who Toasty's very, very fond of. They only say queso as far as I'm aware, and everybody's like, oh, look at that guy. Okay, it's a bit of an odd character inclusion when you consider this show doesn't have that big of a cast, to be honest. So having that type of character that in most shows would be considered a filler, bit weird, but overall it's fine. TNT, relatively logical character, a bit more open to ideas than Notes, which the other logical character. Notes is sort of the super being like, hey, let's do our work, you know, we gotta do the work, you know, like we gotta do the work, we gotta do it serious, like we can, like in general, you know, they have the conversation, but at the end of the day, we gotta do the work, gotta be serious, we're not allowed, you know, it's skeptical. And when TNT does do that, still they're open to the reception of the idea, right? So they're like, okay, if you're gonna put it somewhere safe, then sure, right? Like you think about it, it's just TNT's a bit more believing than it. It's surprising because, you know, I'd usually expect TNT to, I guess, be the more cautious one because they can explode, but they're not. So this is all looking cool. Ice Pack, the best description I could do for Ice Pack. Ice Pack is like fiery. You know, like it's okay. I know that it's weird because Ice Pack, fiery, those are opposite things. However, like if you actually look at how Ice Pack acts, it's very fiery core, all the way down to even the voice. The voice is kind of fiery. Their actions are kind of fiery. They are definitely trying to win the challenge primarily. Here in this episode, they try to win, and they will beat people up for the sake of winning. So they're definitely playing to win, so I mean I respect it. Broccoli, super chill. I like the unspoken rule. Broccoli characters must not have eyes, because it's a great rule. I love it. Every show should do that. But yeah, if you have a Broccoli, it's also one of the things that I've noticed with Broccoli characters is they tend to also be relatively low, like sort of they speak less. You know, I've pretty much never seen a Broccoli character be more outspoken. Like they're always generally a bit quieter, and I think it's because of that concept. It's like when you see a character who covers their eyes with their hair, you sort of have this kind of quieter character feel to them. Even though for Broccoli, just because it's broccoli, right? But yeah, in general, they kind of. Yeah, there wasn't too much Broccoli in this episode, to be honest, and they didn't say many lines. But yeah, in general, they try to cheat in this challenge, which I will be interested to see the voting for this guy, because of course they did cheat. And yeah, we end up having the challenge, which ends up being that basically the phone of a fella ended up exploding. House's phone exploded into pieces or wherever. So you need to go find them. If you find the pieces, you're safe. If you don't, you aren't safe. Okay, it's a basic challenge, and we proceed to start. So, how did this challenge go? This challenge goes okay. I mean, again, personally, not a big fan of challenges that are to find things because, your character will randomly find it. It is definitely, again, it's just based on writing who finds it, so it doesn't really feel like a character that's trying more is going to do it, right? But in general, it's an okay challenge, especially for this episode where it sort of allows us to get a little bit more into the cast, right? Kind of understand their mannerisms just a little bit better. So I don't mind that. In this case, I don't mind that, especially because the show has a small cast, meaning that it can already do that. It's has to play itself a lot faster, in the sense of character development, because it doesn't have as many episodes to perform character development. So, yeah. As we end up going over there, we end up eventually finding Croissanti. No attempt to finding Croissanti. But I gotta bring it to the hospital. House hears that and proceeds to go bing, 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 alarm. And they proceed to teleport away and go like, what? We don't need no hospital. I can just fix that. Because for some reason, he's very scared of the concept of going to a hospital. This feels like a lore plot point. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why you're that scared of the concept of them going to the hospital. Okay, you could just fix it. But why do you, is it that you don't? I feel like they don't want them to go to town. Wherever the town is, but I'm presuming there's a city, because every object show location ever is grasslands with a city 2 miles to the right. So we're presuming that we're trying to just get them not to go over to civilization, maybe because he doesn't want to get seen. That's what I'm debating, right? If we can keep the contestants roughly locked down and them not going into the public, then that means the house doesn't have to go there to fetch them, which means the house remains on the low key. I think house is trying to not get seen by a greater population. That's my prediction, but I don't really know. But then eventually, because of the pieces that get found by notes, okay, technically Croissanti finds them, right? However, they didn't know the challenge because they were getting flung out by the explosion. So that means that Nose is the person who willingly finds them properly, right? So they do that. And then Icepack also finds it because the other set of pieces was Zoll erased of them. And eventually Icepack manages to solo, not gonna lie, They were running away with it, managed to keep it for a long time. Eventually, because of the cheese that Tosi the butter that Tosi has, they end up getting it back. However, then right before TNT was about to submit it, they get absolutely dropped, proper punched. Out, KO'd, which is aggressive. I mean, I know. No, sorry. Icepack doesn't know we have recovery yet. Icepack does not know that we have recovery. This is not something that they learned, I guess. Yeah. Or I mean, did they all? No, wait. They do know that because they have recovery, right? Okay, guess. No, because you got recovered by the explosion. Sorry, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, no. So now, never mind. I guess you would know, but I mean the eagerness with which bro was ready to pull out the punches, the freaking headache, mind-shattering punches onto TNT it was something, all right. Oh yeah, Broccoli tries to cheat by just asking for the pieces. It doesn't work. House gets actually quite mad at him. Yeah, we end up Icepack asks for some help, and House gives him some help. But you can't just ask, "Hey, do the challenge for me," and then House goes like, "Okay." No, that doesn't work. You say, "Help me in the challenge," and then maybe House will go like, "Okay," but in general, it's not gonna be too much. TNT gets picked up right before they maybe explode. Who is Croissanti's parents? Apparently, they have them. It's a bigger croissant. It's two different pastries. How does croissant get made? But Yeah, they proceed to lose, and everybody else is up for elimination. TNT, Broccoli, Toasty, and Croissant. I think that Croissant is. I think they're who I would say should get eliminated, because they're just not that interesting of a character, right? Like, we're in a small cast show. We don't, like, there's not going to be a lot of time for us to figure out, things to do with Croissant, right? And they currently just say Queso. That's good. Like, this feels like early boot McGee, right? However, Broccoli does straight up go like, I'm going to cheat. I am not going to try to do the challenge. So they could get eliminated, right? So, like, yeah, in terms of just performance, who had the worst performance? It's Broccoli. Broccoli had the worst performance because, they just try to cheat, and it didn't work. It failed massively, right? While Croissant, for the health of the show, should get out, because there's not too much you can do with Croissant, and it would just be better to have characters that are more well spoken. TNT and Toasty should be fine. They're fun, and they overall did a solid performance in the challenge. They were nearly safe. So, yeah, if you have a post-credit scene, I don't know what the hell's going on in that post-credit scene. I do not have any words to describe what that was. But, yeah, overall, what did I think of this episode? I thought this episode was pretty solid. I thought this episode was pretty solid. It's animated super free. Yeah, like that's just the way it's animated super free. The writing of it's sort of standard, I'm going to be honest. It's a bit standard. It's doing a nice job with its characters. However, the setting is relatively standard, and the competition is relatively standard. So I'm curious to see if it'll try to switch it up, or not, because the description says, and I quote, "This episode is kind of outdated in terms of writing. It gets better each episode." Okay then. Okay. All right then. All right. I mean, I don't. Like, that's not the time. I didn't think that was a disclaimer that was necessary. I thought it wasn't that bad. But we're gonna okay then. I guess it is then, according to creator. We're going over to Orbit number 2. Orbit number 2 is titled "Where's Sticky?" It is the longest episode. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's see how Orbit evolves past its grand debut. Okay, so that is the second episode of Orbit, Where Sticky. So, let's run it through it. First of all, one thing that I forgot to talk about entirely, when discussing Orbit 1 was music, because the music selection, it's not something that you notice a lot in this show. However, it is there. Like, it does exist. There was, like, one montage in Orbit 1. Here, there's like, a couple of things. I think certain pieces might be original, because, like, I do send some of them giving me similar styles, like, for example, when there was the gag with the awkward and a laugh track, like, it should play, like, the Seinfeld theme, but it doesn't play it. It plays, like, a sort of orbitified variant of it. So I do think there's some original music. However, not all the time. Like, I think the voting screen music is a song that already exists, because I've heard it in other places, like Google Diplomatic show. But yeah, that's what I want to point out. It does a good job, though. It settles into sort of the simplicity of the structural simplicity of what's going on, because I do think that overall it's a relatively structurally simple show. It's just a structurally simple show that looks really good. Yeah, and overall functions kind of interestingly. So it's storming a lot. It storms for the entire length of the episode, okay, which is just at nighttime, just storming very badly. We get to see that everybody's in a cabin, which happens to exist, and Broccoli manages to get back. Great ass, dude. Like, you see, this is what I mean. Like, visually, this show can just do anything. Like, it can pull off anything, and it's a treat to watch. Or, like, for the eyes, like, Orbit is just a visual treat, Like, I don't. It's definitely up there in terms of top visuals for a show that I've seen. Absolutely. It's definitely a contender. Because it just has such a consistent quality to be able to just do anything to anybody. But either way, we end up having Broccoli go out. Didn't find Sticky until eventually House, who has just been running around, ends up finding the cabin. Proceeds to go into the cabin and go like, yo, what's up, guys? Where's Sticky? And the House doesn't want to go try to find Sticky, so we proceed to send over friggin' Toasty to go find Brady, because Toasty's the big old friend. Yep. So yeah, I don't know, the guy has teleportation powers. This is something that we have learned. This is something that we have knowledge of. However, he does not feel like using it, because apparently his powers are like mildly lessened by the storm, I guess. We'll go with that theory, even though I don't think it's true. He said it's an ice pack, but it's ice pack. So yeah, we end up having the adventure for Toasty, where he finds a lot of ants. You can call that an insectophobe. No. But yeah, they end up getting chased by bees again somehow. How do you keep doing that? And then eventually we end up going over into the orb location, where Sticky ends up being there. We end up going, hey, Sticky, could you come with, because, we got to do the thing. And they'd be like, no, what y'all doing dumb? Because, you were guarding the orbs. I don't know if you want to guard the orb, or ever since done competition, I've been doing it myself. And then Toast's like, hey, why are you here then? Why are you in the show then? And Sticky's like, well, I don't. So, yeah, we proceed to go over, and while we're hosting the elimination on this TV, this bro just steals the hot chocolate. You see, that's what I mean. Like, you see that House is a nicer host than a lot of these sort of, I don't really want to say algebraianistic, but, algebraianistic sort of in the way that the host with outer worldly powers, that's sort of crazy, right? Like, you can tell that, like, they are nicer, right? Like, they're trying to be nice overall, at least up front. They might have sinister intentions, right? Which is what it's implied in the cold open, right? However, even, despite that, they might have sinister intentions, but they're at least trying to upfront look nice. But they still do sort of act they still do act sometimes by doing random mean things, right? Like stealing bro's hot chocolate, and that's why it sort of reminds me of Animatic. But Animatic is much more brute, right? But yeah, overall House, I will say this episode has definitely convinced me on House. I will say, it's convinced me on House, because the one thing that's nice about House, is that they're not very loud. They're not that loud. From time to time, of course, this is the nature of algebraianistic hosts. However, the one thing that, in my opinion, sort of drags down, Animatic, and that definitely sort of drags down 4 in early BFB, is that they're just so loud, man. 4 out here coming in with their screeches, Animatic out here coming in with their screech, they're just so loud, all the time. And it's it's fine in a way. You can get used to it. But I do certainly enjoy it when a host can be funny without necessarily just having the joke be that, haha, this is a loud sound. I think episode 1 had a... Wait, did episode 1 have a... I swear there was a loud noise warning on a episode. I don't think this one had it. Hold on. I should probably go check. Now that I think about it, because there was something. Oh yeah, at the beginning we have this orb guard post. What is that? Warning restricted to orb guard post authorized personnel only. This is, I don't know what that is. Is that a No, I don't know. I don't know what that is. It opens up the window and then it's raining. Wait a minute. Okay, no, hold on. I paid no attention to this. What is that? Orb guard post? 2,786. Is that... Are they living in the orb guard post? Is that where this show takes place? Maybe? Or is this the orb guard post that we said was gonna be that friggin' House said was they were gonna put the orb in after they get it? Is that the? I don't which one. I don't know which one of those that is, but maybe. I think it's the first. I think it might just be where they are. They're in an orb guard post. That's where they are, and other people around. But yeah. Anyways, what was the thing? It is true. Episode 1 had a loud noise warning. This one doesn't even have a loud noise warning, right? Which is it's nice to have ourselves the capability of having a host like this fella be funny without necessarily needing to be loud to be like obnoxious, quote unquote. So I like that. And I'm definitely I'm fully on the house bandwagon. Okay, let's go house. House is cool. House is fun. We proceed to have the elimination where right as we're about to discover who gets eliminated because of the drums. Are the drums really necessary? Yeah. Yeah. We proceed to get Sticky, which proceeds to say, "I quit." Okay, because they have, they thought it through after Toasty's words, and it's been like, yo, don't you realize this is wrong? Well, let's see. It's been days since you last outguarded the orb, your own job, because you trust some random guy to do it for you. Mind him, you met him a week ago. 2 people nearly died last challenge. I mean, a child got injured. Why do you still want to keep risking your lives? Really, think about this for a second. Why do you guys want to continue? Okay, that is the I guess thesis statement created here by Sticky. So I do think that it was sort of like there's this limbo placed in the middle of the situation where it's like we're not giving control of the orb until the competition's over. However, everybody is a part of the competition, meaning that there is nobody guarding the orb, but at the same time, even if this other orb guarding facility does exist, the one the house is talking about, you can't go there because house doesn't have access to the orb yet. So you see there's kind of this limbo. Now, the correct solution would probably be to just have the first challenge be very immediate. I get, okay, look, okay, I know, but if we say our solution in the sense of like, if we are actually trying to benefit the orb here, which we're not, but like if we were, the best solution would be, just host a challenge very sort of fast, not necessarily fast, just very sort of around the orb, right? That way, we're still there. And then the first person to get eliminated protects the orb, right? And they protect it until challenge number 2's done. And then afterwards, it'll be like the orb safety area becomes sort of the elimination area, right? Like you protect the orb if you are out until the competition is done, basically, right? That would be the most logical conclusion, I guess, that you could make from that. All right. However, the fellas ain't quite reaching that conclusion. It's I guess a little bit unfortunate, but yeah. What do you guys want to continue? I mean, that question is obviously the answer is you can wish for anything if you think about it. Like you see, there's a lot of goofy ways you can go about it. Okay, with wishes, I know that there's a whole you can't wish for more wishes, but could you just wish? We wish to not give you the orb. Does that work? That a suitable wish? I mean, presumably not, because I mean, like, House would be reasonably capable of vetoing a wish, but like it'd be funny. I wish to not let you have the orb. Boom, got him. I wish to protect the orb forever and have it never leave Earth. Like that way. But no, I mean presumably it'll be a veto by House. But yeah, and I did point out, hey, if we have recovery and healing systems, then we should be fine, right? And that first challenge ends up being dangerous, like, mostly on accident, right? TNT getting hurt is just sort of a byproduct of Ice Pack, like, Croissant getting hurt is the fault of the challenge, but everybody else getting hurt, not really, right? So, yeah, we proceed to have ourselves the intro. It's such a simple track. It's unbelievable. It's like a 5-second long track. I have never seen a faster audio track in my life. Like it's generally jingle length with how fast this song is. But we have ourselves a house, store staring blankly at the screen, and then eventually they pull out the awkward card because, of course, they're trying to light up the mood, and they're relatively solid at having that mood light up as they proceed to go. And then we have the actual elimination. So Broccoli is safe in the sense where like he would have gone theoretically eliminated with 4,480 votes. However, because of Stinky quitting, that means that Broccoli gets to remain on the show. Big fan of the concept of the fact that they don't know that it's viewers voting, because they don't know that that it's a TV show technically for them. It's not. They don't know that it's a YouTube series, right? So they think that it's just all of the siblings, House of Siblings, are voting. Which I mean. It is a lot of siblings. However, I will admit that, if you consider how many types of houses there could be in the world, how many ways you could draw a house, it is realistically possible for there to be that many houses, right? That's not how that would realistically work. It's like, there's many types of paper, so, Notes has 1 million siblings. No. But, it would be theoretically possible. It's a theoretical possibility, if you know what I'm saying. But, yeah, in general, it's just kind of goofy. But, yeah, it seemed like voters were massively against Broccoli, which makes sense. You do two things that are both madly, you do two bad things in a row. Bad thing number one, you refuse to do the challenge, which is bad because the voters want you to compete. And then thing number two, you're trying to cheat as well. So you're being dishonest. You are not playing and playing dishonest at the same time. That's 2 strikes. You're not out because that's 3 strikes, right? So that means that you're safe. Thanks to Grace. But yeah, I'm half disappointed we didn't vote at Croissani. But yeah, we end up having this challenge. End up having the challenge being art. Make an artistry rendition of house in an unknown amount of time. 1 hour. Never mind. There's 60 minutes. You have 1 hour to do it, and there we go. We proceed to have We proceed to have some stuff going on. And don't mind that, by the way. I bonked on a metallic plate. What a noise that was. That was a world-class noise. But anyways, as we end up doing that, we end up having the different tactics to try to have the contestants do it. So Icepack tries to get a gigantic paintbrush, and it doesn't really work because they have too much of a complainer. They're like, I said that they were fiery core in episode 1. They're not really. They're not. They're not. My brain today is having a bad time when it comes to remembering. I'm not gonna lie. Again, there's a character that acts like this. It's like, it's not Gulpo. It's kind of Gulpo. No, not really. No, I don't know. Memory, not today. Today, memory is not happening. I don't know why. Today, memory is not happening, okay? My bad, gamers. My bad. I kind of remember BFDI care. It's so over. But yeah, you're not fiery core. You're kind of firing the way that you sound, and in mild actions. However, you're way shorter tempered and fiery. So that's a wrong assessment that I made there. In episode 1. Yeah, we're having Toasie's plan. So Toasie ends up inventing a plan. We're gonna melt some fucking ice, okay? We're making an ice sculpture of you, and they proceed to make an ice sculpture by getting Croissani to yeet the ice into position. Then you take out the ice in the middle, so make the ice in the mouth. Then you melt the ice into the paper, so that way it's blue. Then you paint over the melted. And then that's that, and then it's blue, and then you make a bow tie using the red paint that there still is. Okay, that is, you know what? Toasty locked in. All I had to do was lock in. In the meantime, TNT ends up deciding that the best strategy to do is to leave the house, because of course, what is there better to do when you are an electronic device than to leave in the pouring rain to go fetch a fucking random paper that you found on the window? Who the hell knows? But Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why, but they proceed to chase over there, and they proceed to get hit by rain because they are holding this umbrella horrendously. I don't know, like, what is this? Is even Toasty holds the umbrella like this, dude? What the fuck's the point of holding the umbrella 2 meters to the left? It's not working. You're not protecting from the rain. 90% of your body is not covered by the umbrella. I get that the umbrella is going mildly diagonal, but that still isn't. That's still not. That's still not the way that works. How it is. But eventually, after one of the glitches, you unhand the umbrella, and that means that you're stuck. So now you end up glitching out in the middle of the rain. There's not much that you can do, and you're slowly dying. Brocky goes like, "Damn it, should I do that?" Oh, I love this guy, dude. I love the gag of the relaxing mindset. That's my favorite. That was so funny. Just the knocking in the background, and then just Broccoli's constantly ignoring, being like, "I need to have a relaxing mind," and then you slowly be that. That's fun. That's fun. I like that. Those gags are fun. That's an elite gag. And as we end up doing it, he ends up deciding that, hey, okay, should I save TNT? Well, I mean, it's not going to help me for the challenge. However, I wasn't nice enough last time, so I should be nicer. So, yeah. Of course, big danger there for Broccoli because he said it. I don't think he's necessarily thought that through. Oh, okay, you gotta kind of be nonchalant about it. You can't just be like, my strategy is to get you to not vote for me. They can't say it. Right, because then it sounds like you're doing it not out of you gotta do it out of the kindness of your heart, You gotta do it out of kindness and compassion and considerability. So, yeah, but, in general, it's the type of thing that definitely makes sense. To say, because they have no idea how this works, right? Like, they just know that they got vote. They just know that they're voting. What footage are they voting based on? Nobody knows. But we don't know. They don't know that they're seeing this. So yeah. Anyways, House pops by the Sticky and proceeds to try to make Sticky feel even remotely better. It doesn't work, and this makes a relatively interesting situation, especially as Sticky Ben proceeds to leave post for some reason. I actually have no idea why. But they leave post for some reason to go over towards the house, and they get found by House, which apparently is capable of shape-shifting into the house, which is a great guy. Love that. The fact that you can put your face on the house itself. That house has just the capability of, like, possessing any house that it finds. That's a great trait for the character to have. But, I don't know, it just does fun things this episode. But yeah, you're trying to, just to make Sticky feel any better after, reviving them and stuff, but it just kind of doesn't work. So, what is happening here? It's very intriguing, because you can look at this and go like, oh, bro's such a nice guy, right? However, like, the thing that's going on here, I think is pretty clear. It's that basically, right, this doesn't work. This plan that this guy is doing, right? This plan that House is doing, it does not function unless everybody's on board. Because if Sticky's guarding the orb, that means that the orb won't leave. That means that there's somebody here who's directly against the idea, and therefore somebody's there who's going to prevent the orb's exit even after orbit ends, right? Which means that it ends up being a bit more complicated. So he has by the way, hold on. Sorry. I'm saying I don't think that's true. Algebraic hosts tend to have no gender. And it is called Orbit with IT on the house as part of the logo. So is that the pronoun? I don't know. But like I'll look, I just say words. I don't believe in, like, usually for a character, if I say a pronoun, I don't actually believe in that pronoun. I just kind of say it. I'm gonna be for real. I just kind of say it because I don't really know. I'm not that good at grasping it, as you can tell. I'm barely good at grasping names. Okay, I can only grasp them with this show because it's like 3 characters. But like in general, But yeah, they're just trying to make Sticky any type of happy because they need to get on Sticky's good side. This is like you can tell House is like very locked in on this because like okay, you're gonna want to make the contestants happy or whatever, but those contestants at the end of the day they're competing and they're doing the thing. You need to get Sticky's approval because Sticky has to lend over the orb when orbit is done, right? Which means that this is a number one priority. And even though I really do want to believe that House is just nice guy out here being that he's not. Like Orb is not a nice guy. Like Orb, I'm calling. Why am I calling Orbit now? Because I got confused. Hold on. I don't believe the House. Dude, I'm so cooked today. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, my apologies to this show. I am not discussing it with the quality that it deserves, but like it's the matter of the day. Okay, it got unlucky. Okay, it caught me on a day where I'm stumbling upon my words every 3 seconds. But yeah, I don't think House is a nice fella. It just doesn't seem like it. You know, like Earth is about to get destroyed because this fella needs the orb and therefore is playing over nice because of getting sticky. It doesn't mean that, of course, I can't consider them nice. You know, like it's nice that they are at least playing a nice persona. You know, like a lot of these hosts just directly murder people, but this fella's at least trying to play a nice persona, being like, hey, I need to get on your good side. Let's try to act friendly. Let's try to act friendly. Let's try to help you. Try to do anything, right? And it's currently not really working because the thing about Sticky is that Sticky's just against House as a entity, because House is like happiness overload, I guess, and recovery capability, and just anything. It comes off as uncanny valley, right? Because like it's not what you're used to seeing. So like for example, if Broccoli comes in and does something nice TNT, right? For example, which eventually allows for TNT decides to pay them back by having them do Broccoli's artwork, which is very intriguing because Broccoli was like, well, he's not gonna help me in the challenge. I proceeds to help him in the challenge, so that's fun. But like in that scenario, like for example, if Broccoli were to help out Sticky, or if Broccoli helps out TNT, like there's a direct trust that gets gained there because like, okay, we're one and the same, right? However, when House ends up recovering or helping out in any way Sticky, you see it feels weird because you don't trust the fellows right now. Why are we caring, right? Why are we caring? Especially because you're trying to get you out of the post, even though and all that stuff, like all that stuff's still apparent, and it's all kind of weirded out, so it makes sense. Now the main question that I still have no idea is what the fuck was Sticky gonna do. Like, if House didn't show up, what was the game plan? Like, just I'm gonna make sure the orb is safe. Proceeds to walk back into the house. And then afterwards, proceeds to complain that House is following her. What do you mean? You walked literally right up to the cabin where the fella is, and you're complaining that the fella is in the place that you know that they are. What? My G. Sticky. It's not following. This is... There are many things that House does. Following doesn't even count. They just went to the orb area. That's not following, that's a checkup. It's not like Sticky went to a place and House was like behind them. No, or Sticky directly walked up to where House is. That's not follow. Sticky's following House. Oh my god, bro. Come on. You gotta make more sense than that. Now, come on. But anyways, eventually, the results end up getting done. Icepack desperately tries to get TNT to the art for them. They be like, nope, I'm making it for Broccoli. So then Icepack doesn't have anything. They're applying. Oh yeah, by the way, Croissanti just kind of vomits out a painting. I'm not. It's relatively quality. No, I do actually like it. I like it in a technical aspect where it's like, of course, it is not that easy to make something look purposely drawn by a 6-year-old. You know, like it's not that easy. Like try it. It's not that easy to do. So I like just how much drawn by the baby vibes that has. But yeah, we end up having which end up proceeds to end. Ice Pack eventually decides that okay, I'm gonna snatch a photo and place it on there, and then we're just gonna go with it. Which there's not too much other stuff you could do. 6 minutes. In 6 minutes, we end up having the idea that TNT was going to do a paper cutout. We had to discover that was the original plan. They were going to do a paper cutout of House. However, they end up speedrunning the paper cutout because they don't have that much time. Based on the paper, which apparently is one of Sticky's notes, which we don't seem to know much about. It just really don't seem to know much about. We take one of the notes. We end up building the house off of it. It ends up looking relatively okay. It seems like the main issue is that it's kind of not a lot of painting to it. Although I will admit that it was done hastily, right? But it wouldn't have looked that much different. It was definitely an idea with a ceiling, if you know what I mean, which is not very smart. I will admit TNT kind of played this a bit dumb because you are the artist, which means that you are the person with the biggest advantage heading into this challenge because, you're the artist. You are overall the only one here who does art, at least as a hobby, and has some skill in the craft. So you are hindsighting yourself by placing you at a craft that you know less compared to the other people. That you would likely beat out in a drawing contest, but you're deciding to play super unorthodox, right? It wasn't a good plan. TNT definitely... I see the vision, however, it was just bad. It was just a bad idea. You should just, of course, focus on your talent, It just makes more sense. We're having the pizza. It seems what is... Hold on. Scan hello ice pack. And then you're gonna fetch the pizza. Okay, so... hold on. Oh yeah, by the way, I love... Hold on. Wait a minute. I forgot to talk about the gag that I liked. By the way, one of my favorite gags was they would be like, yo, we could go to the telly. And then you think, oh, they could go to a TV. No, they go to the telephone. Okay, that's so stupid. It's so good. It's so good, though. It's such an easy joke, but it works so well. But either way, we proceed to have that scan. So presumably what I think is going on with that scan is that, I believe that again, the main concept remains, and House by the way is really worried at the prospect of that pizza, so which isn't there somehow. Not exactly sure how, but it's not there. So, I do believe that it seems like the ore protection dome is just a general area where these fellas are in. They are part of because at the end of the day, it's their job. So, as far as we're understanding in the lore, they're in the ore protection area. So, for example, when they order pizza from the telephone, it proceeds to get delivered into the ore protection center, which means that somebody has to actually scan to send the pizza, right? It's like a P.O. box, I guess, over there at the entrance, right? And or a delivery guy or whatever, right? And again, House is gonna be worried about this because I think the one idea is that House needs to not get caught. That seems to be the idea. House needs to not get caught. House needs to have everybody remain in this space. Nobody should leave. Okay? If somebody leaves, bad is about to happen. Okay? So fair enough, I guess. But yeah, the fact that they do have an entire protection dome definitely does mean that I do think Sticky's also just a bit over exaggerating. And you gotta be exactly at the orb. Okay, I mean, I guess, but that'd be useful most of the time. But it's dumb. It should stop most things except House. But hindsight, whatever. We have to judge the drawings. I forgot to actually talk about it. Let's speed through it. What were the final results of it? Let me see what the final number ended up being. Okay, so Broccoli ended up getting a 9 out of 10. It got the details wrong. However, it was just a very good drawing. It was very artistic and it was kind of different. So it ended up being pretty solid. What would I give it? I would probably give it a 9 out of 10 as well. 7 out of 10 for Toasty. Toasty did good. Toasty did good. I would dare even say it's an 8 out of 10. It's a complicated method to draw and ends up drawing a very accurate house with it. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. The third one was the paper cutout. It was fine. It was relatively okay executed. I guess had some room for improvement. So yeah, I'd probably get a 6 out of 10. Then we had the croissanty drawing, which was, low effort. However, there was some charm to it. I would definitely give it like a 3 out of 10. And then the last one was Ice Pack with the photo. The photo gets disqualified because, it gets a 1 out of 10. But, so yeah, overall, very, very fair ratings from House. Very, 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 very fair. Very, very fair, very fair. So yeah, vote to eliminate. Ice Pack's out. No way, right? I mean, like, okay, technically, TNT doesn't do the challenge, right? Because they do it for broccoli. However, they're just nice, right? And croissanty was at least fun. So like in this episode, they were fun. So I would say that it's gotta be Ice Pack, right? Ice Pack just does so much complaining in this episode. You gotta go. So alright, I guess. Alright then, it is now time to jump ourselves into there's no post credits yet, not sure why. But it's time ourselves into Orbit 3, the episode from a week ago. Orbit 3 is titled The Worst Day of House's Life. Okay, here we go! Hello, welcome to the nighttime, and it is time to discuss the third episode of Orbit, Orbit 3, the worst day of House's life, and House's facade. It certainly seems to be slipping, nice host persona that was very successful in Orbit 2. I mean, in Orbit 2, House managed to keep overall nice fella persona for the entire time. Like, pretty much the entire episode slips so hard in this episode, and House pretty much holds it for none of it. It's genuinely unbelievable. Do I have a hiccup right now? What was that? Okay, I don't know. But basically, House proceeds to falter immediately. Why? Because they're trying to block off the door. Okay, they're trying to block off the door because they're very concerned about the possibility of somebody entering. And why do we discover? We discover this a couple of minutes later because we do we do a routine checkup that's apparently not very often. Where the boss, which is Medicine, alongside some other fellas, some friendos who don't work but are there, to see on the friends, end up going over there, and one thing ends up getting discovered, one very primary thing, it's that they know about House. Yes, the book is seemingly not a future tale. So, in episode 1, it sort of, looked like the book was like, okay, then Earth was about to get destroyed by this house fella, so it was looking like it was a past tense looking at what happens here, as the book is commenting on what happens here. Basically what I'm trying to say. However, it seems as if that book might be more of a mythological one. Might be more of like a sacred text. Because you'll notice that it's sort of mentioned that like the house is this evil guy, right? In those texts, because Blueberry and Medicine and pretty much everybody else end up immediately noticing and being like, what? And everybody's getting like super jump scared by it, because those are what the sacred text or whatever is saying about House, okay? Because they're the evil one who that evil destroyed his planet. I guess I didn't check with 100%. Because to see the pages before in that Orbit 1, because maybe there is the possibility that it would be like that it showed that House did House destroy some of the other planets? Now that's a great question. Who? No, it looks like it's different people, right? Beware. Yeah, I think Earth. I think different people. No, but hold on. one of the planets, one by one, each planet became. I need. This is. Hold on. Wait. This is important. I need to see. But then, very slowly, one by one, a few of the planets and orbs vanished. First Trapper. Then came time for Earth. So okay, there's no indication on the text itself about what is destroying the planet. However, again, beware. Have you seen that it's a bunch of houses? It seems they are different house designs. So maybe house does have siblings, and the siblings are destroying different planets. Oh, okay. Hold on, because. Wait a minute. Which planet gets destroyed? Which planet is destroyed? So, Trapper, Syndra, Diffidential Domus. Hold on. So that's 4 planets that gets destroyed. Because I'm thinking about it. Because I'm looking at those houses. None of those house designs that are on that book, I think, match 100%. Right? No, one does. Right? Wait. Does it? Do you have a chimney? Hold on. House's design does have a chimney. Okay, then it does match. I mean, presuming that the door isn't a part of it. But then the other 2 don't. Because one is sort of a double triangle. And one of them is sort of like an apartment complex. Because the theory that I was trying to form was that, like, basically, if it said that 30 planets were getting destroyed, and then these were 30 different houses that weren't the house, then those would be who destroyed those planets, and then house themselves destroy Earth was the idea. However, no. Incorrect theory. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, House tries to block off the exit after hearing about the pizza. Nope. There's 2 of them. Whoops. But yeah, it seems that everybody knows. Of course, I have to ask the obvious question that should get asked in this moment. I mean, look, I understand that the thing about it is that the people whose job it is to protect the orb are extremely fucking incompetent. Yes, I get it. That is the idea. However, how the fuck is it that the important part about what the sacred text says will attack the orb on their planet, they do not get to know? Because, like, this feels like important information. I mean, maybe it's mythological, right? But, like, you should know. That way you can know what to look out for in case it's true, because the other planets disappeared. I mean, like, I don't know. You know, it feels like the type of thing that will be true. Feels like the type of thing that they should know about. As the protectors of the orb, they should know about what the potential threats to the orb might even possibly be. But they don't get to know that. It's not even, like, even sticky. You're telling me that the blueberry, okay, the fucking blueberry, alright, who was freaking having a manic episode, the entire episode, got to know about the threat, but not Sticky, who's actually smart. Like, what? What? I was supposed to talk quietly, but this fit. I mean, like, look, you gotta do suspension of disbelief, but I'm sensing some higher tier suspension of disbelief than I was, than I might be comfortable with there. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, we proceeded to get the fellas coming in, and eventually what we end up having is House eventually, stumbles by, and they all notice, and they'd be like, what the fuck, right? It's all looking very bad. They start panicking. We get to see a bit of the paper. I don't think we get to see the paper properly, which is annoying, right? But like, and a lot of it is written in weird text. They're saying to get the tapes, run to the tapes, until eventually everybody, everybody knew, ends up getting snapped. We do like 7 finger snaps in a row. We go pop, 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 and then a lot of events happen. However, what happens with all those events is that we come back and everybody ends up having been significantly, like, they forgot. They don't know. Blueberry does not know. The none of those 3 people none of those people that drop by, the 4 people that drop by, none of them know what's going on anymore. Okay, they have all forgotten, and by this forgetting spell, they also become significantly dumber. Well, not all of them. I mean, okay, here's they get dumber to a degree. Someone like medicine, for example, turns into a total doofus. Right, just total doofus. But like character like Blueberry, they already look pretty dumb, not gonna lie. But yeah, this seems to turn everybody very, very dumb, and they end up joining. One of the things that I think is interesting about this episode is that there seems to be a little bit of a loosening of the design constraints on House, because like in episodes 1 to 2, I didn't notice House changing that much other than for gags. But here in regular conversation, the length of the triangle, right, that makes up the roof of House as a character, it just varies. Like it just changes, just straight up. Like it is wider sometimes, you know. And maybe that was in the episode, but I didn't notice. It was definitely to a lesser degree, at the very minimum. Which seems so it seems to be kind of loosened the design restrictions on House, which is fine. I mean, like, yeah. I'm honestly surprised that wasn't already the case, considering one of the main qualities of one of the main traits of an algebraianistic host is that their design is 100% not consistent. Right, like every algebraianistic host that you'll find will not have a consistent design because it's just not part of it. And House is, I guess, starting to earn it a little bit. We end up hosting elimination time, where the eliminated contestant ends up being Ice Pack, obviously, and then all the fellas end up wanting to join. House doesn't want to let them join because, of course, you know, House wants to get the orb as quickly as possible. But they proceed, but everybody sort of wants them to join, and then they end up joining. So you know, it makes sense. And because of this means that we've ended up having a major stall and everything. We end up going right next to the orb area, and we end up going, yo, find me the heaviest item. The top 2 will be safe. Or the heaviest set of items. A Sticky proceeds to get mad, being like, what the fuck are you doing? You're hosting something here at the orb location? Can you stop doing that? House proceeds to go like, bro, please get away. And then the fellas proceed to, you know, do the challenge. In general, a lot of these conversations have this sort of awkwardness to it, right? Because it's like, here's the deal. I wanna like a character like Lampy. You know, like Lampy looks cool, but it's so difficult when I know that, like, whatever Lampy was is definitely this is a reduced version of Lampy. You know, like, it's kind of weird with these new people, because, like, because of the finger snap, right, it means that they've all been sort of, like, they forget, but by the spell of the forget, they also just forget, like, the reason why they forget, and they end up kind of, you know, ending up getting a bit dumber because of it. So that means that, like, you end up having a character like friggin' Lampy being just sort of a more default version. Same thing goes for, like, Blueberry. It feels like a more default version. You know, same thing would go for, like, especially medicine, you know, like, it just feels like these characters have been reduced to a more default state of them. So it's like, I will admit that, like, with the knowledge of what does most likely happen to these characters, like, these TNT and Lampy interactions, I like them, but they're kind of awkward, you know, because Lampy's just being happy-go-lucky la-di-da, you know, when it's kind of like, you know, so I need to see, because the thing about it is these characters are realistically not changing, right? Because, like, you know, why would House revert them back to their pre-knowledge of days? But it currently, like, the knowledge from this episode definitely makes my stance on them a bit awkward. I think I would probably need that additional episode to really go look at these characters and go like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. Let's just judge on this basis, because currently, you know, it just feels it's a bit weird. I don't feel right giving too much of an opinion on them. Except birthday cake. Birthday cake's kind of interesting. anyways, we proceed to have the croissant and the ice pack, which proceed to sort of be there. So croissant, they end up getting ice pack as their item, as their object by technicality, because they proceed to like, it technically counts. I agree. It's not that heavy. I mean, the ice pack is pretty heavy. You know, like, it's not that, like, it's not light. It's like medium size, I would say. But yeah, it's kind of, they end up getting it. And the ice pack, for some reason, cannot get off. I mean, you could have made a bit of an effort, but to be fair, I guess you don't have too much better to do. So you end up just kind of sticking around. And then we proceed to have Croissanti randomly speak in perfectly coherent and thoughtful and epic English. Okay, so as far as I'm aware, this is a walkie-talkie that Croissanti swallowed. And then it sort of made them tall like this. I think that's the lore reason. And yeah, I mean, this is okay. It's just like, I'm not gonna lie, like, there's this weird, like, this trope there is something weird about this trope in particular, where it's like, when I think about it, it's like, how many times does this trope happen? One time. But it's just one of those tropes where it's like, it just feels like the one time that it's done is so iconic, it's difficult for it to do it again, right? Like, Taco is just, it's such an iconic character, right? In II, where it's like, if it really was just the character that's super dumb, is secretly super smart. Like, it kind of gives off vibes when it's not. But they did do the walkie-talkie thing, so we're good on that front. We're not taking that plot line yet. And then Tosi proceeds to see House, which is just observing the orb. Yeah, I mean, look, I will say that your interest in the orb is definitively not getting hidden at all. Like, not even a little bit. But Toasty goes like, yo, can I submit the orb as an atom? And then, yeah, let's do that. So we proceed to go like, yo, can you do the spell? They proceed to try to do the spell until Sticky comes in and goes like, what the fuck are you doing? Proceeds to drop kick Toasty into the ground. It was quite a painful kick, I will admit. But then you end up getting the orb back and leaving with it. And it's a bit unfortunate. It makes House be a little bit more upset. Yeah, House, it's not a great day for House, I must admit. Blueberry's now super scary. Broccoli ends up yet again starting to troll Blueberry. I see what's going on with Broccoli. The idea of Broccoli is that Broccoli is the character that will have other people do the challenge for him, right? That was the concept. It's in episode 1, yo, can House do the challenge for him? In episode 2, TNT does the challenges for him. In episode 3, we're trying to get Blueberry to do the challenge for him, right? All of this stuff. Is the idea, sort of trying to manipulating to get there. So that's what's going on with Broccoli. We end up getting the queso demon bro.exe, and of course Blueberry 100% believes it. Like, look, I know I told you that Blueberry was dumb, but like, was Blueberry this dumb before? Like, was Blueberry this unbelievably dumb before getting the triple snap by House? I don't know. I got very little screen time with them, but like, I kind of doubt it. And also, it's another show with a Blueberry as a contestant. How many? But they're all different designs, so fair enough. But like, damn. So yeah, in the meantime, they proceed. Stack medicines are coming out over there. Birthday cake is, dude, how do I comment on birthday cake? They speak in third person. They kind of give me like, you know, that kind of Nonagon-ish character from Animati, that sort of character that speaks in the third person, speaks in action in a way, like sort of, I will do this, right? You know, kind of speaks in those types of sentences, and then does very random things, but in general kind of holds up because I'm a happy thing, I will do well. Be like, I will be the one, you know, like, I am happy or something, and then, you know, do all that stuff. So that stuff's going on. We do get a couple of fun interactions between Ice Pack and Croissanti, or at least freaking super smart Croissanti version. But yeah, in the meantime, Lampy proceeds to go fetch some stuff, and while they go fetch some stuff, TNT ends up going over to have a conversation with House. Now, this is a very interesting interaction. It's definitely the most interesting part of the episode, by like quite a bit. So how does this interaction go? We end up having TNT, try to make some small chat with them, and we eventually have TNT, utilize some conversating skills. I know, right? A character can be good at conversation. Honestly, kind of a rare thing, but we end up being like, okay, how do I connect with this person? Well, we got what do I know about this person? What, they're a universe traveler, right? So let's talk about that. Let's directly mention something you're deeply and well familiar with, and show an interest in it. Be like, hey, you're universe travelers, right? Do you ever get homesick? No, just ask a question about it, because you travel a lot. So what is your home? You are a house. So and they'd be like, well, you don't have a home anymore, me and all the siblings, no, okay. So yeah, and then we end up having an interesting little question, being like, hey, does TNT ever get homesick? Valid question. I mean, they currently definitively live on the grounds, and they never seem to leave. I mean, the checkups happen on site rather than them leaving site, so they don't seem to nearly ever get off days. I mean, presumably they could, get an off day. That's why there's 7 of them, right? But like in general, it's a valid question, and then you go like, yeah, I mean, like, I guess I have been a little bit. We got some solid camera angles. Yeah, again, in terms of angles and things, this show just, again, it's totally free to do whatever it wants. And it's excellent on that front. Okay, that front, yes, absolutely. But yeah, House ends up being hey, got a nice planet. I used to see places like this with trees, lakes, mountains. We get blurry images there in the background of what seems to be a sort of a forest with some very tall trees. A lake looks like a very pretty lake. We got like a purple sky. We got kind of a blue gradient lake. Mountains. We get that stays on screen for very little. No, those are just mountains. There's nothing special about them. It's been a long time. So then he proceeds to. TNT ends up proceeding to guide House to look at the sun, right? The Earth will be pretty lonely, being like, hey, do you know about the sun? I mean, okay, presumably this guy knows about the sun. Bro travels the universe, and you think bro hasn't heard about stars? Like the most common thing that are on the universe. Have you looked at the night? Look at how many there are. You think bro didn't see any? Like, it's too big. Like, come on now. Just like, I understand you're trying to connect, but come on. But anyways, this proceeds to get House to have to go into a little bit of a panic, being like, and then to be like, oh, I gotta go. And that makes TNT very sad. That actually makes TNT like. That actually makes TNT extremely sad, like to a degree of like that I didn't even expect it. Like, it's fair to be bummed out because the conversation was looking pretty interesting. Like, to be fair, it was, but like TNT got so sad. TNT didn't even do the challenge. They just kind of stared down, kind of sad about it, and that's kind of unfortunate. I know, no lie. It was really interesting. What a reaction, because it was so extreme. Like, TNT is so sad for the rest of the episode. It's like, why? Like, I mean, I guess connecting with House is interesting, but like at the same time, I mean, to a certain extent, you probably should see it coming, right? Like, I mean, the guy is all super excited, host fella. I mean, in general, it seems like they're doing that. But, I guess the conversation was looking interesting. Because I think the thing that made that conversation promising, right, was that, like, okay, TNT was talking to House, and that's fine. And you don't expect House to give too much of a response, right? Because House is this kind of outer worldly being that you don't know what to expect out of, right? However, I think the thing that gave hope in that conversation is that House showed interest, right? Like it was very simple, because you see, in a one-sided conversation, you ask a question, they answer. You ask a question, they answer. You ask a question, they answer, right? Because like you are interested in conversating to them, but like and they might not be as interested in conversating to you. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to talk to you. By the way, that I just mean that it's like in those types of situations, in general, you know. It's like, if you stop speaking, in general, there's not going to be too much else of a conversation, right? There's not an active attempt to just keep it moving. In the meanwhile, where, like, as you can see here, that house follow-up question is a big deal, because it ends up having, like, a direct showing of interest in like TNT and into the conversation, right? Like they're not just answering because the fella's there, right? You're directly trying to make it a more productive conversation. So like it was given a hope, and then the sun and switch up. Yeah, it is fair to be bummed out. It is absolutely fair to be bummed out. And they proceed to just entirely refuse to do the challenge. But yeah, the sun is bad apparently, according to this guy. According to House, the sun is bad. Why is the sun bad? I don't know. Because, like, where was he from? He doesn't have a home anymore. I mean, was he from one of the other planets? No, there's no way, right? This is your universe travel. So, because that would be the idea. But then why would you be mad at the sun? What does the sun do? I don't, no, you know what? I mean, you can make a theory, but, like, I don't think I have one. Not right now anyways. Like, yeah, you can make a theory, but as of current, I'm not exactly too sure what exactly would be the correct one here. So we're gonna kind of leave it. Then we proceed to some other stuff. We're having the medicine ended up getting submitted by Birthday Cake. You are a cruel, evil man. Just kidding. Bro, this I don't know. Okay, Birthday Cake is trolling. Birthday Cake is trolling. Again, Wordwave is done before. Okay, Birthday Cake probably. Medicine ends up being, yeah, I don't know what's going on with these two. But yeah, we end up having, for some reason, Sticky ends up deciding that they're gonna help out Medicine by giving them the keys to the tractor, which is intriguing, for sure. It's intriguing for sure, but why? Hold on, like, okay, wait, give me a second. Let me see. So, wait, I'm sorry, it's late. So I need like an additional computational minute. So like, I guess there's one good. So I think that like Sticky gets convinced because you end up having Medicine say what could be a potential good use for the wish, right? Which would be, you could keep the orb safe for all of eternity. That is true. As I said, of course, sort of there's a veto that arrives to it, because we end up having it. Now, I just realized they don't know the prize. They don't know the deal. They don't know that. They haven't heard of the deal. They joined the show with the pitch that you can win a wish, but they forgot the fucking deal. The deal wasn't explained. They don't know. Medicine doesn't know that the deal is you win a wish for the orb. Huh? Oh, they don't know the deal. Oh my god. They don't know the deal. Oh fuck. Yeah, because, like, again, if you know the deal, there's no way that, like, the guy wouldn't just veto the wish of keeping the orb safe for all of eternity. You know? Like, oh my god, they don't know. Okay. Again, like, House is this whole, I'm gonna keep it safe in my safety chamber. Well, what do you think this is? For fuck's sake. Like, I don't... Dude, okay. That is intriguing. Toasty proceeds to keep getting hit by bees for some reason, and then we have the weighing session. Blueberry at the last second tries to give them one of the leaves. It doesn't work, because it's not great. Broccoli has apparently also missing their power. How did you lose it? I'm sorry. There was a gigantic pile of pillars there on the ground. You lost it? How did you do that? You were literally drowned in it and you tell me you dropped it. Same thing goes for Blueberry. Blueberry fucking dunked the stack on him and you're telling me you couldn't grab one of them to submit. Come on. These two are trolling. Dude, do these people want the wish? Because they're trolling. To put in the sorry, I hit the microphone. Put in the minimum amount of effort. Oh my god, these characters are throwing. But either way, yeah, the beehive does end up being a great wish. The medicine does end up being a great wish. Lampy, ends up getting a billion things. It actually ends up apparently taking the entire house because we have a crocodile. So yeah, it proceeds to be very good. And then the other person that ends up being safe ends up being Medicine, who ends up being safe because the tractor literally broke the scale. They proceed to battle him until Birthday Cake ends up telling them vote for two to be eliminated. And then everybody else is up for elimination. So it's Broccoli's time to go. It's time to go. It's broccoli time. It's broccoli time. These new people, I mean, like, of course we're not as familiar with them, but it's broccoli time. Yeah. By the way, what are these voting numbers? Now that I think about it, what are these? Wait. YPEMCB. What? Hold on a minute. Wait. What? Yo. Huh? Hold on a minute. Now, wait. C for Blueberry? Why? Wait, no, now I'm hella confused. What? What is this order? YPEMCB. There is no... Why would you ever do that? Hold on, wait a minute. Let me go to orbit, 2. For a minute. Let me see. Who's up? What are the voting numbers here? ITR. Wait a minute. What? Are they letters in orbit? No, but then MCB. Wait a minute. Hold on, now I'm... Wait. What? How do these letters work, bro? Yo, now I'm mad confused. Yo, I've just been thrown for a loop at 0040. Hold on. What is that? I'm trying to come up with a reasoning. They all look like these all look like wanted posters, by the way. This is really fun. It's a lot of freaking crime pictures. What is... Okay, I mean, Broccoli's going, but no, okay, that makes no sense. Hold on. I'm going to be more 100% for real. I don't think I've been as confused as right now in a while. And it's the confusion of being late and just totally not understanding why something is the way that it is. But yeah, Broccoli's going. We got ourselves the voice actors, including, of course, new ones for new characters. Shout out to them. And then we proceed to have the house note that ends up getting drawn by Blueberry, which actually ends up remaining there to keep it there. Who ends up signature Blueberry? For the activation of emergency on that condition, the vicinity of an entered hazard is in rapidly escalating state. So instances, should you approach, attempt to document the symbol. If the symbol appears, follow the protocol. What was the protocol? There's some weird text. Is that text that I can understand? No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem like I can understand any of it. I'm gonna be for real. I mean, because it kind of looks like text, but then there's like a random exclamation. No, is that a lowercase I? I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna look into it too much. But yeah, Sticky ends up taking in as part of the notes, and then it proceeds to be over. And that is Orbit 3. Definitely, one of the things which I like, definitely the episode which I think I criticized the most out of them, because it is the episode that sort of does the most in terms of lore, right? So there's kind of the most lore to nitpick, because like in general, in the technical details, the show remains exactly the same as it was, which is interesting. It maybe tests out lighting a little bit less, but even then it's just very good, even like with how the orb shines and everything, like all of it, it's all important. It just does a lot. This show looks great, right? And it doesn't need to change anything. It can just keep itself exactly the way that it is, and it'll be good. Music is getting a little bit of a deeper role into the show. Like, I could really feel it in certain scenes, like the actual conversation, which is nice. It's a nice to have. The pieces that I heard, they were not like necessarily super structured, I would say, is like kind of the main thing about them. They kind of felt like they had some they were in general very varied, which was interesting. However, like in general, we have discovered that it's relatively good still to have that, because like stuff like the B.A.B. soundtrack. The B.A.B. soundtrack is random, and it ends up working itself out quite well. And for something like this, it ends up being pretty solid. Oh yeah, somebody's credited for 3D because of the freaking tractor shot. Okay, yeah, let's go. Shout out to that. That's cool. But yeah, that ends up being Orbit number 3. As I said, the episode that I have nitpicked the most. But again, if I have a lot to nitpick about the lore, that means I am very much so into it. Okay, because I'm gonna, like, with every lore, even if it's the best lore of all time, I'm gonna have nitpicks with it, because it's just a matter of how it goes. It's just kind of like, I'm not going to agree with 100% of the story all the time, right? So I just say the opinion, and then it's like, maybe one thing I'm correct about and one thing I'm not, and then it's like, if it's like this, that's good. If it's like this, then not good. It's kind of like, it's both okay. Also, I just noted that one of the designers called Jelly, another designer is called Jelly, and another designer is called Jelly. So shout out to Jellies. Shout out to the Jelly Trio. They should start a podcast. I need to stop looking at this credit scene, okay? I get distracted by the names on it, okay? But yeah, overall, it's very good. On the animation side, it's very good. Music is getting its own, and that's nice. In terms of the writing, it's just starting to really pick itself up on the main plot points. It hints them at episode 1. It sort of plays around episode 2, but mainly uses episode 2 to sort of lock down the characters. And it really did feel like they were locked down. Like the personalities of the characters after episode 2, I really felt them. And it's doing that. It's doing that with a little bit longer episodes than it needs to, because it's not going to have that many episodes. But of course, after the triple edition of 4 characters, does mean that we end up having like a increased bump from like the theoretical 7 episodes to like a theoretical 12, right? So technically the series just got greenlit for 4 more episodes. So that's all relatively nice. And overall, it's a series that currently is definitely in a stage where we kind of have to see. It's very, very promising in technical aspects. It is amazing, and I see why he's doing it. In terms of the characters themselves, I would say that the characters themselves are nice. Like Toasty is a great character, House is a great character, TNT is a great character. Friggin' Notes or like friggin' fella is a Sticky is a great character. So like they're good characters. Heading into what I would say is a very well technical show. So it has all of the foundational qualities of an elite show. Now we just need to see what it's gonna do with its story. Is it gonna have a good story? We just need to see. We just need to see how nice it's gonna be, how realistic it's gonna be, how it's gonna go. And I wish the best of luck to them, because I will say this is one of the shows with definitely some of the most potential that I've seen, that we kind of gotta wait for it to happen. So you know what, good luck on making it. It seems like an episode release roughly every 6 months, so we'll be back in October. So yep, seems relatively cool. Is that a what is that video? Sorry. I looking at the channel. You might know what video I noticed. I am getting distracted, as you can tell by it's midnight. There's people out here doing random bullshit because yes, you think I'm the only one awake at this time. This is a generational problem around the house. And let's go do an outro. Alright Alright, and that will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup, as people in the background are doing random things. Yeah, this is an episode. I expect that the next few days won't have an Object Catchup, to be honest. I don't think I can fit it in. They're just gonna be busy. It's gonna be like that other big slump. There was one right here, and there's gonna be one right now, but I did at least tend to really want to make this episode, even though it's late, just kind of just like have this is an episode that's released on Orbit, and then later we can kind of lock in on stuff in a couple of days. But currently I'm still definitely in the range of like, all right, let's sort of let it happen. You know, I'm still on break. That's why I say all of early March. I'm not sure how much time I'm gonna have. It's not gonna be much, but yeah, this episode I could only fit Orbit in it. I'm gonna be for real. Nothing else is fitting in here. I don't have that much time. Yeah, you know, I'm sorry for not having that much time. It's unfortunately not up to me. If I could choose, I would, you know, try to have time for catch up every day, because it is one of my favorite projects that I am doing currently. I have not fallen out of love with it at all. I just, you know, there's other things that happen in life, and I will have to deal with those before I can get back into the proper swing of things. But that was Orbit. We'll be honest, I'm not too satisfied with my discussions of it. It was kind of I was incoherent for a lot of it. I'm not too satisfied with it, but I guess is what happens when you record it a little bit later, especially after the roughly tiring day that I had, where, you know, I'm sort of, my brain is not 100% locked in, because I had to lock in on stuff earlier in the day. So that means that it's not too locked in right now. So discussing the episodes maybe didn't happen at the best of quality, but I did thoroughly enjoy it, you know, and, you know, I can't wait till the next day to do it. You know, I watched it now, I did it now, and tomorrow I wouldn't have time, right? So yeah. For Orbit, we are all caught up. I'm very excited to see more Orbit, though. I hope, you know, like, I hope it's not every 6 months. I hope it comes out, manages to come out sooner, because like I would enjoy to see more. But take all the time you need. That is all for Orbit. See you in the next episode of Object Catchup. Goodbye.